Welcome back to the Boot Tragedies. We're not going to waste any time. The first mock draft is here. And with the 29th pick of the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Kancey, defensive tackle, Pitt. We'll watch a couple plays, just a couple plays though, from Kancey, defensive tackle, Pitt, defensive tackle. I mean, look at that first move. Look at that first step. The guard stood no chance right there. No chance at all. That is elite move, especially from an inside pass rusher. You usually don't see inside pass rushers with this type of quickness. I mean, do you need to see anything else? Do you really need to see anything else? Elite quickness. Look at the burst. That is elite pass rusher from the defensive tackle position. That'll definitely help the Saints out a lot. Defensive tackle is a big position of need, at least in my opinion. Maybe some other people don't think, but how we was against the run defense this past season and how we really couldn't get any pressure from the inside, I would love this pick in the first round for the Saints. Let's talk about some stats he had. Played 3 years at Pitt. Freshman season, 27 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 1.5 sack. Sophomore year, 33 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. In his junior year this past season, 31 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, and 7.5 sacks. That is excellent, especially from the defensive tackle position. The Saints need to get some interior rush. We've definitely been lacking in that department as of late, so I think this would be a great pickup. I think this guy's going to run between 4.7 to 4.75 at the defensive tackle position. I really do think. I know he's going to crack 5. You saw the explosiveness. You saw the quickness. This guy's going to run great. He might test too well for us. You know, it might be the only downside. This man might go to the combine and go super crazy and might end up going too high. But right now, hopefully he can fall to the Saints at that 29th pick. Some people have him as an early second round. I would love to take him in the first round with that 29th pick. And with the 40th pick in the NFL draft, I would like the Saints select Felix Anudike-Uzomah, edge rusher, Kansas State. Now, I'll go over some of his stats before I show some clips from him. We're only going to talk about his sophomore and junior year. Rarely played his freshman year, but sophomore year, 50 tackles, 14.5 tackles for loss, 11 sacks. Junior year this past season, 46 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks. So within 2 years, he basically put up 20 sacks and 25 tackles for loss. He showed 2 years consecutively that he could get in the backfield, create pressure, get pressure on the quarterback, and finish those plays off. Something I, again, think the Saints have been lacking, consistent pass rush. And as you can see with my first 2 picks, I'm trying to clean that up for us. 4th down right here. This is what the Saints have been missing, man. Speed off the edge. With Ron Nielsen at the defensive line coach, we've been drafting these big defensive linemen, you know, about 270, 280. Don't really have anyone with 4.6, 4.7 speed off that edge. So I think this guy would be a great help to the defensive line, coming off that edge with some speed, with some tenacity. Could be a player. Coming off, using his hands, getting chipped by the running backs. Uses his hands. Oh, my God. But look at this move right here. Coming off, he's going to make contact with the lineman first. That's what you want. Shoot those hands. I keep having to break this video up because YouTube will take it down if I just let the whole entire thing play. But, man, the guy shoots his hands, grabs the defensive lineman, throws him down. That's really what you want to see from a defensive end. A guy that's coming in with some pass rush moves. A guy that's coming in that knows how to use his hands. And the Saints are not starting from scratch once again. But this right here, that's how you do it. That's how it's done. And with the 71st pick of the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Zach Charbonnet, running back, UCLA. Now, I won't do videos for everybody, but this guy's an absolute beast. Played 3 years. First year was at Michigan. Finished with 726 rushing yards, 11 touchdowns, averaged 4.9 yards to carry, 8 catches for 30 yards. He didn't really play his junior year, only getting 19 carries, 100 yards plus 1 touchdown. So he transferred, ended up going to UCLA. Now, when he went to UCLA, he had himself a great 2 seasons. 200 attempts his junior year, 1,137 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, 5.6 yards to carry. And the biggest thing I like about that, when he went to UCLA, he had 24 catches for 197 yards. So going from 14 catches total in his 2 years at Michigan, 24 catches his first season at UCLA. In this past season, he had less attempts by about 10 attempts, ran for 1,359 yards, 14 touchdowns, averaged 7 yards per carry. Also, 37 catches for 321 yards. So basically, his first 3 years of college in the receiving department was outdid by his senior season, finishing with those 37 catches. So obviously, showing he could catch the ball, showing a little more versatility out the backfield, and the Saints are going to need a running back. Alvin Kamara can't do it all. It's time for Mark Ingram. Those days are over. Dwayne Washington, he hasn't shown anything at the running back position, so the Saints have to draft a running back this year. I think he'll be great. He's listed like 6'1", 220, a bigger back, a guy that can run between the tackles, got some home run ability, can score touchdowns. We need another guy like that, another weapon in the backfield. I think this would be an excellent pickup for the Saints. And with the 115th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Ronnie Hickman, safety, Ohio State. Now, this pick is likely for two reasons. I do think the Saints need a safety, need a guy at that role behind Marcus May, Tyrann Mathieu, split reps with them. But also, he goes to Ohio State. We know the Saints love Ohio State players, and I think this year we should add another one. Ronnie Hickman, he's a safety. He basically plays what Tyrann Mathieu plays. I'll just put it like that. He plays in the box. He plays deep safety. He covers tight ends, slot receivers, some bigger guys. So basically, draft him. Put him behind Tyrann Mathieu, maybe learn for a year and be ready to take over those reins when Tyrann Mathieu leaves, or he can come in and play maybe right away. Probably not an every down player. It's a 4th round pick. You're not expecting a 4th round guy to come in and start day one, but him learning behind Tyrann Mathieu. You got a guy like Smoke Monday who's coming back. He can learn behind Marcus May. You have 2 young guys learning behind 2 pretty good safeties. Tyrann's more on his way out than Marcus May is, so I think if Ronnie Hickman could come learn behind Tyrann, pick up some things from him, he'll be a good player for the Saints. Maybe not next season, but the year after that, I think he could be a starter for us. So I would like the Saints to pick him up in the 4th round. And with the 148th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select A.T. Perry, wide receiver, Wake Forest. Now this guy is the big receiver, 6'5", 200 pounds. He's listed at a big frame. He's going to have to put on some weight being 6'5", 200. That's kind of small. I think he'll fill out around, 215, 220 once he gets in the NFL weight program and things like that. But this guy could be a guy that plays for the Saints right away. Now I'll go over some of his stats from college. Didn't really play his freshman year, only played in 3 games, 4 catches. Sophomore year, played in 6 games, 15 catches. But the last 2 seasons, his junior and senior year, or sophomore and junior year, because COVID year, whatever. But he played in 14 games his junior year, had 71 catches, 1,293 yards, 18.2 yards a catch, 15 touchdowns. Absolutely fantastic junior season. He probably could have came out that year, but he came back another year and did it once again, finishing this season with 81 catches, 1,096 yards, 13.5 yards a carry, and 11 touchdowns. This is a guy that can get in the end zone. Obviously, he's 6'5". That's a big frame. He's going to be a red zone target. That's the thing we've been lacking with the Saints, especially with Michael Thomas being out the last 2 years and being injured again this season. We just lacked red zone targets. A guy coming in 6'5", big body, he'll definitely help. I think if the Saints drafted him, he could play right away. You got Rashid Shaheed, you got Chris Olave. Obviously, both of those guys put up impressive rookie campaigns. Adding this guy to that, to that young group of receivers, then you have a nice trio of receivers. You'll still probably want to go sign some veteran guys. I don't think Jarvis is going to come back looking like Michael Thomas is going to leave, obviously, with the restructure of his contract. But if you can get those 3 guys in the wide receiver room, maybe get a couple guys, I think the wide receiver room will be looking pretty good, man. It's going to add a red zone threat, a big body, a guy that produced in college. A guy that produced. If you notice, look at everyone I've mocked so far. Defensive tackle, he produced at Pitt. Edge rusher from Kansas State, he produced at Kansas State. Zach Carbonet from UCLA, he produced at UCLA. Ronnie Hickman produced at Ohio State. A.T. Perry produced at Wake Forest. The Saints run into problems when they try to get cute in these drafts. Guys that didn't really do nothing, guys that could be projects. These guys all produced. These guys all produced in college. Draft guys that you don't know what you're going to get because it's still a draft. But I'm sure I'm tired of it. I'm sure fans are tired of it. These project guys that come in, that's going to take a year or 2 or 3, to maybe become what you think they're going to become. Draft guys, kind of what you know what you're going to get already. And I think A.T. Perry and the guys I've named already would perfectly play their roles. Next up, with the 168th pick in the NFL draft, the Saints select Emil Ekiyor. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, but guard from Alabama. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I watched, this guard play so many snaps for Alabama. But what I do know is Alabama produces good offensive linemen. He's a guard. We're going to need guard depth. If anything, these last couple seasons showed you offensive line depth will be important when guys are going to get hurt, especially guys for the Saints. Guys are going to get hurt. This guy played over 40 games at Alabama, has experience on that offensive line. So he looks good in the run game from what I've seen. I just, turned on his highlights. Look very, very good in the run game. Looks decently athletic. I think he can, come in, be a depth guy, maybe be the 7th, maybe be the 8th, 9th offensive lineman. Obviously, you're not drafting guys this late to start. I'll keep saying that. You're not drafting this guy to come in and start. He's not taking anybody's position. But come in and be a depth piece. If somebody goes out, he can hold on the ship for 2 or 3 games. I think this would be an excellent pickup for the Saints if it came down to it. Now, next up, with the 188th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Josh Whyle, tight end, Cincinnati. Now, this might be a shocker to some people. It's late in the draft, 188th pick. But I think tight end maybe be a position of need for the Saints. Jawan Johnson's a free agent right now. Who knows, what he's going to do. Hopefully he comes back. But this guy is 6'6", 240. It's fairly athletic out there. From what I watched, a very, very good tight end in college. Don't know what that's going to translate to in the NFL. He's not going to come in and play year one. But when he did play, he had 28 catches, 353 yards, 6 touchdowns his sophomore year. Junior year, 26 catches, 332 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's really good from a college tight end. That was when he was playing with Desmond Ridder. This year, had 32 catches, so most catches he had in his career, 326 yards, 3 touchdowns. Touchdowns were down, but you did lose a guy that started NFL games at quarterback, even though he sucked. I'm only saying that because he plays for the Falcons, obviously, but I do think the tight end I do think the Saints can bring in another tight end this offseason, maybe put him on the practice squad. I know we had Lucas Krull on the practice squad last year. They didn't really, give him a chance to play, even when we had a bunch of guys banged up. So I think we could bring another guy in. It's time for some new faces in that offensive room. I don't need to see Nick Vannett back on my roster next year. Troutman might be out the door soon. So bringing the guy 6'6", decently athletic. He's not no Travis Kelce or anything at tight end position, even though they both went to Cincy. He's solid, though. He's a solid tight end. Maybe be not a project guy, but a guy that maybe sits for a year or two and maybe have a chance to play after that. But I would like this pick late in the draft. With the 229th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Caleb Murphy, center, Indiana. Now, basically the same thing I said for the Alabama guy, I'll say it for him as well. I'm not going to even sit here and pretend that I watched the center from Indiana play football this past season. But the things I've read, it seems like he's a pretty good technician, especially in the pass game. I heard he plays through the whistle. You got a guy named Trevor Penning that does the same thing for the Saints, center depth. Obviously, when McCoy went out last year, we put Ruiz at center. We had Josh Andrews playing at center. It became a shit show. Draft a guy that plays center. So if Eric McCoy somehow gets hurt or something like that, you'll have a backup center. You're not just moving people around, making people play center that don't really play center anymore. Though I would like this pick. Once again, you're adding depth to that offensive line. A guy that you're not expecting him to come in and be your starting center or anything like that. He's not going to be replacing McCoy, who just signed an extension. But it'll be good depth. You draft 2 linemen, to go with Penning, Hurst, Ryan Ramchick, Pete, maybe. Who knows what they're going to do with him. Eric McCoy. Then you'll have a solid group of 8-9 offensive linemen. You're going to need it. You're probably going to need more than that eventually. But that'll be a nice, solid group to start camp with. So I do think the Saints should draft a center in that position. And that brings up the 260th pick in the draft. Now, this is going to be fun for the Saints. I'll pick somebody different every time. I'll probably do 10+ mock drafts, until the draft starts. But this one's going to be special because the Saints are going to have Mr. Irrelevant this year. Now, this year, everybody know Mr. Irrelevant was super, super relevant, probably the most relevant player in NFL this season, especially in the playoffs. And that was Brock Purdy. Obviously, San Francisco, all their quarterbacks getting hurt. Mr. Irrelevant became relevant. Now, for the Saints, this first one, the first guy I'm going to go with, the 260th pick in the NFL draft, the New Orleans Saints select Tyson Bagent, quarterback, Shepherd Rams. Now, this is probably crazy to all of y'all. Y'all probably don't even know who this is, and I'm not going to pretend I knew who this was maybe about a month ago. But I've been paying attention. This guy's from a D2 football school, the Shepherd Rams. He got an invite to the Senior Bowl, and once I saw that, I was kind of paying attention to him, looking for him, and he performed pretty decent at the Senior Bowl. Now, obviously, you're not going to draft this guy and say he's the quarterback of the future. I'll keep comparing him to Brock Purdy, a guy that you're just going to have probably on your practice squad, just hanging around, learning the system, learning the NFL game. But this guy threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns in college. It was D2, but In 2021, he threw for 5,000 yards, 53 touchdowns. I don't care what division you're playing in, that's a lot of yards, that's a lot of touchdowns. And this year, he had an off year, hand quotations, only threw for 4,580 yards and 41 touchdowns. Ending his career with the NCAA record across all divisions, Division I, Division II, Division III, with 158 career passing touchdowns. That's the NCAA record. A lot of people have him going maybe undrafted and maybe the last 10 picks in the draft. For me, I got him going as Mr. Irrelevant to the Saints, bringing a quarterback into a quarterback room that's pretty awful. Let's just be honest. And I think it'll just bring some excitement to the team, especially excitement to the preseason. You got a guy that ran an RPO system. He's a pretty good athlete. He ran an RPO system in college for the most part. Basically threw a lot of scheme things at him, so obviously he's going to have to adjust to NFL, and that's going to be a huge adjustment. The guy's not going to be ready to play pro football maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe even never. But I think it's exciting. I think you bring him in, see what he's got. It's the last pick of the draft. Who cares if he turns out to be, absolutely nobody? That's why they call him Mr. Irrelevant. But you never know. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Brock Purdy, but draft a guy, Mr. Irrelevant, see what happens. He may turn out to be an absolute beast for 3 or 4 games and get hot like Brock Purdy did. Or he could absolutely never play an NFL snap because the NFL game is just not D2 football. So that's my first mock draft, man. We could get a quick little rundown. I got Kancey, defensive tackle, Pitt. Next, I had Felix Anudike-Uzomah from Kansas State, edge rusher. Zach Charbonnet. Is it Charbonnet? I'm pretty sure it's Charbonnet. Running back, UCLA. Then I have Ronnie Hickman, safety, Ohio State. After that, A.T. Perry, wide receiver, 6'5" guy from Wake Forest. Then I have Emil Ekiyor, guard from Alabama. Then I have Josh Whyle, tight end from Cincy. Caleb Murphy, center from Indiana. And Mr. Irrelevant, Tyson Bagent, quarterback of the Shepherd Rams. I think that's a very solid first mock draft for me. I'll definitely do more mock drafts before the draft even comes. That's in April, I believe. So we have 3-4 months. I'm sure after some cuts, some resigns, some restructures, we'll know how the Saints roster is going to look, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Marcus Davenport and Onyemata. Obviously, if those 2 guys come back, this mock draft is going to look very different, because we're probably not going to draft a defensive tackle and a defensive end in the first and second round if that's how it plays out. But we're a long ways away from that, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe that'll happen rather sooner than later. So we'll see how it plays out, man. But that's my first mock draft. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below about this mock draft. Go watch some of these players if you want to. And if you want me to just, mock somebody just so I can go watch them, just let me know in the comments below. I'm just going to be watching everybody at this point, man. It's finally off season. It's officially here. Thank y'all for tuning in once again. First mock draft, this is the Boo Tragedies, and I'm out.
So one last time, let's make them hear it. The greatest man